Hey guys, I just did an amazing trip to Norway and the Faroe Islands. I spent 18 days out there and got to see some incredible places. So I want to make this video to kind of share with you guys what it costs to do a trip like this. $3,127 is what I spent on this trip. That includes the flights, hotels, hostels, car rental, ferries, tolls, parking, excursions, and a few surprise expenses that usually come up when you're doing a trip like this. I'm hoping that if I make a video like this, more people will be encouraged to travel and get to know these places. I think it's worth every penny. So I'll go into more detail of what everything cost me, and then that way you guys can get an idea in case you guys want to plan a trip like this. This was in May of 2023. I chose not to include food in the price breakdown or alcohol because I know there's some people that don't drink or people have different diets. Some people like to splurge a little bit more on food than others. For me, I kind of sometimes I'll splurge, and other times I don't mind just eating some food off a cafe or even at a gas station, which in Norway, when you're doing a road trip in Norway, you might find yourself eating quite a bit of gas station food, which is not bad because their gas station food is pretty good, but there's just not many options sometimes. So let's start off with the flight. Like I said, the total for the price for the whole trip was $3,137. My flight by itself was $654. I bought this flight 6 months prior to my trip, so November 2022, and it was a single layover, which is the way I always try to do my trips, especially on a big trip abroad. You might find a better price if you find something with multiple layovers, but you're just asking for trouble. The more layovers, the more possibilities of something going wrong. So I always recommend single layover. So I started the trip in the beautiful city of Bergen. I spent 3 days there and absolutely loved it. I was trying to save money wherever I could, so I stayed at this hostel called City Hostel Bergen. Great place for the price. $67 for the 2 nights. You can't really beat that. Plus, it's very well located. About a 10-minute walk to the downtown area. All the restaurants and bars are right in that area. So after Bergen, I flew over to the Faroe Islands. This was the flight I got. It cost me $320 basically to fly there and back. This is where I kind of messed up. When I first bought my flight to Bergen, I should have just bought my flight to Faroe Island at the same time. There was a flight for $220 round trip, and they were like direct flights, 45 minutes there, 45 minutes back to Bergen. And I didn't take advantage. I waited, and then when I looked back, the direct flight back to Bergen was no longer available. So I had to get this flight that actually had a layover in Copenhagen and do it that way. Also, the weather in the Faroes could be very unpredictable. So my flight to Faroes was actually canceled. I was planning to get there early in the day and take advantage, but my flight got canceled like 20 minutes prior to boarding. So instead, I had to get another flight and fly to Copenhagen and then to the Faroe. Thankfully, that didn't cost me a dime. Wildero Airlines just hooked me up and set me up with a flight with the Atlantic that went to the Faroe Islands that same day. But unfortunately, I didn't get there till like 7 p.m. Sorry for butchering the name of these places, but I believe it's called Tainalipa, which is translated to the Slave Rock, where literally right next to that is this beautiful view, which is the lake above the ocean. Also an amazing place to visit while you're in the Faroes. While I was at the Faroes, I stayed at Giljanes Hostel. Great place to stay. Super cheap, $175 for 4 nights. It was a great deal because it is pricey to stay at the Faroes. Located walking distance, I want to say it took me an hour 30 minutes to walk from the hostel to that view that you just saw of Tainalipa and the lake above the ocean. In the Faroes, it's they have some weird property laws where, like, I guess several people or several families will own a piece of land. So unexpected to me, you have to pay to go on some of these hikes. Like the first 30 minutes of the hike to the lake above the ocean was on the streets from Giljanes Hostel. But once you get to like the hiking portion, I had to pay $28 to actually go onto the property or onto the trail and make my way over to where the lake above the ocean is at. Same with this beautiful place, Drangarnir. Probably the main reason I went to the Faroe Islands. I just had to see this place. It's absolutely amazing. $93 to do the hike here. This one is a guided tour, and you can only do it with the guide. So you'd have to contact the guide, email him, and they only do it every other day. So I think it's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday that they organize the hike. And on my hike, for example, there was like 12 people, but I heard they could be up to like 30 plus. Um, Very much worth it. I had originally planned to do a boat tour that took you to Drangarnir and went through the Arc, and that was going to be like $150. But I'm so glad I did this instead. They give you so much time because it's a 6-hour hike, 3 hours there, 3 hours back. But once you get there, they give you all the time you want to just take photos. I was with a bunch of professional photographers from Spain, and they were taking their sweet time to take pictures and do their thing, so that gave us plenty of time to enjoy the view. The Faroes can be really unpredictable. I had actually planned to do 4 tours like the one you see here with Guide to Faroe Islands. I ended up only doing one of them. That one right there, 1,450 kronen, that's about $130. So I'm kind of glad I canceled those because it would have been obviously more expensive to do a tours like that way. Some of the people at my hostel rented a car, which in hindsight I might have at least looked into the prices for that. But I got around on the buses. At the end of my trip, like I said, I spent 3 full days and then I guess half a day on my flight back. I spent $55 in bus fare. And for example, I'm staying in the Giljanes hostel, which is on Sandavugur Island. And to get to the capital of Tórshavn, it'll cost you about $11 to get on the bus and get there. Most of the other routes it costs about $2, $2.50, but it just depends on how far you're going. The host at the hostel said that you could get around just by hitchhiking your way around the Faroes. I found that not to be the case. Only on the last day did I actually have really good luck hitchhiking around. This hidden gem is called Dunes Drangar. I actually didn't know about this place, but one of the guys at the hostel, shout out to him, Jan, he showed me this place and he took me there and we went on a hike. It's like a hidden gem. Nobody knows about it, maybe because I didn't know about it. And there's no actual trail to get into there. You just have to like jump a couple fences and hike your way over there. It takes about 40 minutes or so. The one tour I did do with Guide to Faroe Islands was this one. It's called Vestmanna Cliffs, on a boat to see the cliff line of Vestmanna. Beautiful location. Definitely worth it. This one was only $60, so I thought it was a pretty good deal compared to the other ones. And as you can see here, it's like an elephant rock, and the rest of the cliffs is also just as beautiful. I flew back to Bergen and rented a car, $631 for 10 days. Totally worth it. It was a pretty nice compact SUV, and this thing basically served as my hotel a few nights. I think I slept in the car like 4 or 5 nights. So you actually obviously save money by doing that instead of like taking around a tent and camping at some of these spots. Plus you have the freedom of just stopping wherever you want and enjoying the views. This waterfall in Oda is the only one I actually knew about, though I knew it was going to be pretty amazing, called Litfossen. The rest of them, like 4 or 5 that I found that were just, well, there's waterfalls everywhere, but there was like 4 or 5 that were absolutely amazing, and those were just pleasant surprises. It's pretty hard to compete with the drive in Norway. It's just such a scenic place to drive around and absolutely worth it. So my first part of my trip took me to Trolltunga and then down to Pulpit Rock, as you can see on the map there. And I drove just about everywhere. Took a bunch of car ferries. Those kind of hidden surprise as far as the cost of those, because on the car you'll have like a transponder, and they'll just charge you for every ferry or car ferry that you take, and then as well as the tolls, and you won't really know how much you're going to pay until the trip is over and you turn in the car. The main hike I wanted to do in Norway was Trolltunga. Absolutely amazing hike. So I stayed at this place in the city of Oda called Trolltunga Camping. It cost me $155 for 2 nights there. Absolutely worth it. I actually had my own room, and I think it's because the season, it's like low season as far as tourists in May, but I imagine if you go during summer you might have to share, because I did have a room with a bunk bed. When I got to Oda, they highly recommended that I do the hike to Trolltunga with the guide. I had no idea about all the snow, and unfortunately all the guides were already fully booked. If not, I might have done the guided tour, but I did on my own. I just rented some snowshoes, Those cost me $42. And then parking at Trolltunga parking lot is also kind of expensive. It was $50. And then you do the hike on your own. It says in Google that it takes about 12 hours. If you do the guided tour, I think they do 12 hours, and they only let you be up there for about 45 minutes. It took me 8 hours to do the hike, and it wasn't easy whatsoever. You're sinking into the snow the whole time, but it is absolutely beautiful to do it in May. And when I got up to the top, there was only 2 other people, which was very nice. Pretty cool to kind of have it to ourselves. I heard during summer months there could be like 50 people in line waiting to take a picture, so it's nice to have it nice to yourself. After Trolltunga, I drove south to Pulpit Rock. That drive was about 6 hours. Beautiful drive. I think it was the most beautiful stretch of driving I did. Pulpit Rock itself is amazing. Just a beautiful fjord. It's a much easier hike. It took me an hour to get up, 45 minutes to get down, and this one just about anyone can do. I slept in the car 2 nights on my trip to Pulpit Rock. Not a big deal. They have campsites everywhere, and I just snuck into the campsite at the base of Pulpit Rock and took a shower there. And I didn't sleep there. I just pulled over during the drive. You could just pull over, and wherever you want, there's a bunch of turnouts, and you could just pull over and sleep. And then you wake up the next morning, you have a beautiful view. After Pulpit Rock, I drove back to Bergen, and I wanted to get back to Bergen for the May 17th celebrations. It's a big holiday for Norwegians. It's their Constitution Day. I think it's like the biggest day of the year. Probably just as big as Christmas for them. And totally worth it. Everyone's out and about, super happy, very patriotic, and it's nice to see them all celebrating. If you can meet some locals and they can take you around to their celebrations, that's the best way to do it, because they basically start drinking from early morning, champagne breakfast, and then pretty much drink the rest of the day and just party. It was a lot of fun. For the 2 days that I spent in Bergen for the May 17th celebrations, I went back to the city hostel Bergen, which this time around it cost me $78 for the 2 nights. Pretty cool because, like I said, it's right in the heart of Bergen, and pretty easy to celebrate from there. After the May 17th celebrations, I hit the road again and drove up to the Atlantic Ocean Road. It's an engineering marvel, but to be honest, it's not that impressive. I could have done without that part, because I went up there. My plan was to go there and to go to Trollstigen and then to Rengefjord, but Trollstigen was closed because there was too much snow on the road, and Atlantic Ocean Road was probably not worth it, to be honest. Rengefjord, on the other hand, yeah, that place is amazing. You guys can see what I ended up spending on the tolls, ferries, and gasoline. Gas is pretty expensive over there, but I think I must have had a really gas efficient vehicle, because I really don't think I spent that much on gas, especially considering that it was not only my transportation, it was also my hotel for a few nights. When I went up to Rengefjord, I didn't get a hotel or anything. I just slept in the car, again, next to some lake, or just pulled off on the side of the road somewhere with a beautiful view. So, totally worth it. I wish I would have recorded how many miles I put on the car, but I totally forgot. But I pretty much drove the entire southern part of the country, so considering that, I don't think it was that bad on gas, tolls, and ferries. I mean, for what you're getting, it's pretty much worth it. Those ferries are actually really cool to get around. You just jump on. Most of them are like 20 or between 20 and 40 minutes. You just drive your car onto there, take a nap, or go to the cafeteria they have there and eat. Actually, the food on the ferries is actually really good. It might actually be some of the best meals you have out there. The price of the food on the ferries ain't bad. It's I want to say it's like $8 for a hot dog or $12 for an actual meal. The car ferry in Geiranger is the only one that isn't automatically charged to your vehicle with the transponder. This one you have to actually buy a ticket, and they recommend getting a ticket early, because if it fills up, you're out of luck, and it only goes every like 3 or 4 hours. There's a back road, but it's pretty long. I think it's a 2-hour drive, back road. So this car ferry is the most efficient way to get to back to Bergen afterward, and it's also a beautiful ferry ride. That's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and hopefully it helps if you're making upcoming trips to Faroe Islands and or Norway.